Hi everyone, it's Mark Merrill with Firm, the Fact Files. The Democrats' guilt and family ties are about to spill out. Oh, the walls, they are a-fallen down, and there's nowhere to hide the ruins and crumbled truths, folks. The compilation of stories we're talking about in this episode of Firm Language Review is taking place, or has taken place recently, on 4 GOP abortion amendment bills in Maine. And Maine GOP senators have also asked for federal investigation from Pam Bondi after the Mills administration gets not very good news, really bad actually, folks, from the State Auditor, Matt Dunlap. And just one more thing about truth and abortion's effects on an expectant mother who decides the unthinkable. Well, first, folks, already Maine citizens and pro-life Americans everywhere, the deflectocrats, have now hopefully realized in reality and common sense political actions to guard their lies, secret meetings, non-debatable supplemental and extended budget spendings that we the people are not going to take the blame and bullying threats from them anymore. No, all done. Now, but here is really a great explanation, and probably why Billy Bob Fuckingham, as you see a picture of him before you here, will see an audio video of his report just after a late session in Augusta. It tells all about what's going on and what's not going on.
It's 12:50 a.m. Just coming out of the legislature. The Democrats adjourned sine die today. They said the work was done and ended the first regular session. We only accomplished getting 4 divided reports dealt with on the House floor. A Democrat-only unbalanced budget passed today, and then they adjourned the legislature so that this fraud of a budget can go into effect. They did the most unbelievable power trip I've ever seen by basically expelling one of our members while she sat in her seat, not allowing one of our members to vote, which disenfranchised not only the people of Auburn, but the people of the whole state of Maine. You silence one of us, you silence all of us. We tried repeatedly to convince the Democrats to end that censure, or I call it an expulsion in the House, because they're not letting her vote, they're not letting her speak. Although they did let her introduce amendments, which was interesting. She could speak for that, but she couldn't speak to them or vote on them. So they silenced her voice on that. Absolute power trip ramming through an unbalanced budget. No bipartisanship whatsoever. Total disregard for nearly half the people of the state of Maine. And it's just business as usual for them. So thought I'd give you an update. Hope you're as upset as I am. I guess, I wouldn't use anger. I would use just disappointment, disgust. Your government is dysfunctional. It's failing you. They had no fiscal responsibility, no willingness to look at waste, fraud, and abuse. And, I really hope that the federal government takes a look at how Maine has been managing its Maine care system. Because from what I've seen of just one of these program integrity audits that showed a nonprofit in Portland billing $3 million, 2.4 of which were fraudulent charges. 80% of the charges were fraudulent. That was on one program integrity report that I saw. Tells me that there's a pretty good chance that we have rampant waste, fraud, and abuse in our system. And the Democrats are writing a blank check to keep paying for it. And you're on the hook. They're putting Mainers last, illegals first. No other way to say it. These nonprofits run by foreigners, people that come here from foreign countries, start running nonprofits, then billing Maine Care, 80% fraud, 50% fraud, getting away with it. You're paying for it. Mainers are last, not taking care of our elderly, not doing anything about electric bills, not doing anything about our veterans, not taking care of our hospitals, none of that. The second year doesn't even fund the Maine Care deficit. And we know how that's going. $120 million owed to our hospitals. Won't be paid for another 90 days because of this, because they let the bill die, and now it won't get paid for 90 days. It's dysfunctional. You should know about it, and I'll see you in the next session.
Spring is it, Doc?
So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not a pretty picture, as you can tell already. We thank Billy Bob Falkingham for his dedication to the state of Maine, where he's been serving since being elected quite a few years back. We don't have that in front of us when he did start in the legislature from Winterport. We're going to switch gears, though, for just a few moments, though, folks. A recent legislative council, it appears here in Maine that they announced on April 4th, as you see before you hear Kristen Hawkins with the Students for Life America pro-life organization. But on that April 4th session, the Joint Committee on Judiciary, that's right, folks, at least the Democrats and the Republicans were on the same page, would be holding preliminary, get this, language reviews of the following bills previously presented in public hearings already, like about 5 days before. Which ones are they? Oh, we've got them right here. I mean, it's atrocious. We're going to change the language on it just because the deflectocrats don't like it? Gee, that's too bad, Janet. You better be paying attention to Title IX. You've already got yourself in hot water to the hundreds of millions of dollars of female athletes in the entire state of Maine, from Fort Kent to Kittery and Freiburg to Lubec. Whose school districts are going to be stripped of federal money, no thanks to you and your lazy, threatening garbage of an administration who sides with the LGBTQ trans system, probably funded by GLAAD for all we know. Transgender men can compete because of our Human Rights Act and our Human Rights Commission. We're going to ignore the federal Title IX because it's Donald Trump in office. Right? Doubt it. But here's what they want to do, folks. As far as these four, we're going to run down through them real quick here, but you can find them on legislature.maine.gov/audio. That's right. Audio testimony. LD 682, an act to amend certain laws regarding abortions, a minority committee amendment. That would be the Republicans, folks. LD 886, an act to regulate medication abortions, minority committee amendment. LD 887, you may recall sponsor Reagan Paul talking about an act to make manufacturers responsible for proper disposal of abortion drugs and require a health care provider to be physically present during a chemical abortion instead of the woman being alone by herself, or young lady, shall we say, biologically. Another minority committee amendment. And the last one, LD 1007, which we will focus on in another episode of Firm. An act to update the state's informed consent laws regarding drug-induced abortion, a minority committee amendment. Stay tuned, folks. It isn't going to be pretty when it comes to fighting about abortion and the laws that are already in place, no thanks to Janet Mills and her cronies. This one right here, folks, we want to focus and give you a chance to put this down if you need to pause our program after you've viewed it. It's from Medicine Plus and their website about abortion, as you can probably see. Briefly on this one here, folks. Per a court order, the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, of course headed now by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is required to restore this website as of February 14th, 2025. Oh, gee, it was banned? Surprise. Any information on this page promoting gender ideology is extremely inaccurate and disconnected from the immutable biological reality that there are two sexes, male and female. Trump's administration rejects gender ideology and condemns the harms it causes to children by promoting their chemical and surgical mutilation, as you will hear in another testimony from Ms. Paul. And also to women by depriving them of their dignity, safety, well-being, and opportunities. The page here under Medline Plus does not reflect biological reality, and therefore the administration and its department rejects it. And induced abortion as a procedure to end a pregnancy. There's one by medication abortion, which we'll give you the link to, folks, so you can check it out. It's quite lengthy. And a procedural abortion. Two separate links. An induced abortion is different from a spontaneous one. That is the loss of a pregnancy before the 20th week of pregnancy. It's more commonly known as a miscarriage. And one last thing about it, folks. If you are thinking of having an induced abortion, talk with your healthcare provider. Your provider can explain how the procedures are done, as well as the risks and benefits of each. Certainly something to keep in mind, folks. Now, what happened even more recently, folks, back on the 1st of April, you recognize probably Pam Bondi here of the Attorney General's office. What she's talking about is basically a pattern of negligence, or worse, Maine Republican senators. Their coalition, their group, urge Ms. Bondi federal level to investigate state finances after a devastating audit report from Auditor Matt Dunlap, who's been in the Maine government for several years. First as a lawmaker, then as Secretary of State, or you could certainly use him now instead of Ms. Bellows. And recently assigned, not that long ago, as State Auditor. So what's going on, folks? Well, what came up here on the Maine Wire, their post on Facebook, said that Mr. Dunlap, as of March 31st, revealed a scathing audit of Maine's 2024 spending and found staggering corruption risks in how the Mills administration hands out taxpayer money, including federal funds. FBI, DOJ, and DOJ, Mr. Musk's organization, might have some questions. You can also look that up on mainwire.com, and we'll provide that link as well, folks. But what's it saying? The audit revealed $2.1 billion, with a B, folks, billion dollars of financial mismanagement and corruption risk. The audit reveals a shocking lack of practical and ethical guardrails for government spending after the Democrat-controlled legislature had passed an $11.3 billion budget and prepared to spend another $300 to $600 million, all funded by new taxes on tobacco, streaming entertainment, ambulances, and more. Oh, and there's one other thing here, folks. Actually, a couple. More than $2 billion in fiscal year 2024 contract payments were made under a system the audit describes as lacking basic supervisory oversight and controls, and the auditor tested 45 contracts that found 16 of 31 sole source contracts lacked any documentation of a required reasonable investigation by the director of the Bureau of General Services. Now, there's one other interesting one here, folks, which we find a little bit disturbing when it comes to family members who we were telling you about earlier. Yeah, well, it seems that Governor Mills' brother, Peter, assisted or helped transfer 9-acre black market cannabis growing area to Chinese national mother living in Guangdong province over there in the CCP nation. Isn't that nice? Findings also highlight systemic failures in oversight of vendor performance under taxpayer-funded contracts. Also, in the audit, there was no verification as to whether vendors had satisfactorily performed on previous contracts before granting lucrative amendments, nor did it consistently involve the Office of Information Technology in tech-related contracts despite legal requirements to do so. That is just the beginning, folks. I'm telling you, it's terrible stuff. But you know what? This is what Pam Bondi's going to do. The 14 Republicans that sent the letter to Department of Justice, where Pam Bondi is AG, came from Trey Stewart, Republican Senate leader, Assistant Republican leader Matthew Harrington, and the grave findings, as we just told you, about the systemic failures in oversight, violations of federal and not only that, but state procurement laws. They believe, they say, that the issues demand urgent federal scrutiny, potentially including criminal investigation. Couldn't agree more. That should have been done a long time ago. But in wrapping this one up, folks, the group of Republican state senators urged the DOJ to review the 2024 single audit report, launch an immediate investigation into many organizations and departments under Janet Mills and other implicated parties, seek recovery of any misspent federal funds, and to assess whether criminal charges are warranted under federal procurement or anti-fraud statutes. Senators wrote to Attorney General Bondi, Maine citizens and American taxpayers deserve assurance that public funds are managed lawfully and competitively. The audit shatters that trust, exposing vulnerabilities that only federal action can address, they wrote. Now, as we wrap up our program here, folks, I'm going to get to another segment of Ms. Paul, Reagan Paul of Winterport, you recall, gave her testimony about her abortion bills that she was co-sponsoring. Well, here's some more information that you should know, especially if you're a parent or a sane, civil human being, about the destruction of preborn babies.
Important to note is that while once regulated, over time, Democratic presidential administrations have weakened the risk evaluation mitigation strategies, or REMS, surrounding these pills, with former President Joe Biden making the pills available for online order without a pregnancy test, thereby taking away all protections that were once best practice, such as in-person visits and follow-up appointments. But the dangers of chemical abortion pills extend beyond the immediate harm they cause to women and children. Once the pills are taken and the abortion process is complete, The remains of the destroyed baby, including blood, placenta tissue, and human remains, are often flushed down toilets, ending up in our water systems. This pathological medical waste is now entering our nation's waterways unchecked, potentially contaminating our water supply and endangering the environment. This contamination introduces endocrine-disrupting chemicals, or EDCs, substances that interfere with the hormonal regulation in the human body, into our water, which is then recirculated into the public drinking water system and used in agricultural irrigation. These chemicals pose a significant risk to the fertility of humans, animals, plants, and the long-term effects are unknown. Women taking the abortion pills are instructed to flush the products of the abortion, which are the placenta, the human embryo, and blood, in the toilet. This healthcare or medical waste can be, quote, hazardous if not disposed of properly, end quote. Additionally, given how one of the abortion pills, misoprostol, is administered, some of that medication could be passed into the toilet as well, according to the Colorado-based Comprehensive Women's Health Center website. All of this could then pass into the wastewater systems, potentially affecting the fertility of animals and fish, according to the article by the EPA titled, "Don't Flush: Why Your Drug Disposal Method Matters." Scientists explained in that article that, quote, drugs that are designed to disrupt our endocrine system also disrupt the endocrine system of fish and other aquatic organisms when they get into our waterways. Scientists at the Atlantic Ecology Division have found the hormones called progestins affect the number of eggs that female cuttlefish produce. They also interfere with the way hormones function within females and males. By improperly disposing of pharmaceuticals, we further contribute to the amount of chemical exposure aquatic mammals are subjected to, and that may potentially threaten the population sustainability of shellfish, fish, and other aquatic animals. The best thing you can do to help lessen the problem is to utilize drug take-back programs. We cannot afford to ignore the environmental and public health implications of this toxic waste entering our water supply. The current situation is untenable.
Take it for what it's worth, folks. It's the truth and it's the facts. Ms. Paul come up with, done her research. It's horrible. It's despicable. It's inhumane. We appreciate your input. In the meantime, we thank you for joining us on our podcast, especially important ones. They're all important. But this is a matter of life and death, folks. Our podcasts are right here. Fairness in Reporting Media. Under rumble.com/fairnessmedia1. And fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In the meantime, everybody stay safe and peace to all.